Today's episode is brought to you by Mars Energy Cream. Mars Energy is a new way to get a boost. Think energy drink, but it's a lotion you rub on. It's caffeine infused and has taurine just like energy drinks do. That's Mars with a Z, energycream.com. What's up, Sons of Montezuma? The Aztecs win. San Diego State begins the season with a gritty win over the Ohio Bobcats. Idaho State is next, but we want to know, will you be there to see it?
Gets his ball. Third down and 5. Under pressure. Let the blitz get to him. All out blitz from Kurt Maddox's team. And he's deemed, Tim. Yep. You've seen some sunrises yourself, partner. Here's C.J. Harris up in the air. Hello. How do you do? Trey White with the interception of Harris.
You see the pressure. Number 91 in particular got in there as well.
58, Cody Moon delivered. 6 seconds left. Gotta be quick.
Nice.
There he is. Touchdown. Right on cue. Mark Redmond. Hammerhead brings it in for the touchdown. Davis is in the backfield. Over the middle. It's caught. It's touchdown. It's the tight end Redmond. And San Diego State made it a little more interesting than they wanted, but they come away with the win. And Spence, this was a wonderful way for us to open our season.
Man, I got so dark out there, I didn't even put sunscreen on the whole day out there. No sunscreen at all.
You're Mexican. You don't need sunscreen, dude. Come on. You're a person of the sun, dude.
It only works so much, bro. And then the natural oil stopped working.
All right, everybody, welcome back to our first, recap Sons of Montezuma podcast episode. It's your host, Mateo San Diego. We want to thank you guys for joining us. Make sure you guys are hitting that like and subscribe button on YouTube. And if you can, definitely give us a follow on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, anywhere you listen to a podcast, you can find the Sons of Montezuma. And I am joined with two of them, my two co-hosts riding with me again today. He was protecting our seas and our borders quite literally. And it's good to have K5 James. What's going on, K5 James? Good to see you.
What's up, man? It's good to be here again. Especially after a win, it's always great.
And we got with us in the house the dirtiest of the Dans. How are you doing, D Morton 78 football Dan? What's up?
But I'm good, dude. It was pretty exciting to actually have this podcast. We didn't really bring the energy last podcast, Mateo said. And I think it's because we're doing it sober all the time, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think we got all of our energy out on Saturday. The Aztecs won 20-13. It wasn't like the most stat-packed game offensively, but the defense was pretty huge. And I had a great time. And I think we were talking, guys, it was like just a great day. It wasn't necessarily like the greatest of games, but the day was just phenomenal. The tailgate was beautiful out there on the grass at the River Park. And, that was kind of a twist for us. We weren't really expecting to be out there in that area, but we saw it was open. And then we got into the game and, we're going to dive all into it because this was the first game of the 2023 season. The Aztecs off to a 1-0 start, and they took down the MAC opponent that was the only MAC opponent to ever beat San Diego State in our history, which is kind of hard to think of, but it's true. And so they got their revenge for a couple years ago. But, we're going to dive right all into the game, guys. This was a game that, we had a lot of questions coming into it as far as the offense, a lot of new faces on the defense. And, I don't know if it lived up to your guys' expectations. I don't know if it lived up to, the huge crowd that was there at the Dragon. I don't know if it lived up to their expectations, but it was a win, guys. It was a win. And we know these first 6 games are going to be one of the toughest stretches in the whole schedule. How big was getting this first win? Dan, you can start off.
Man, I thought the game was a coin flip anyways. So to actually get the win, especially when you're watching the other team kind of go up and down the field the first half, really, it was great. When I was there at the game, I didn't I thought they were playing worse than what I thought when I watched the replay. when I watched the replay, I thought they actually had a lot of opportunities, especially in the first half. With like, this sounds bad, but there were a couple times where some of the throws weren't competitive. The throws to the receivers weren't in the ballpark, which they left a few big plays on the board because of that. In the second half, they went to more like short passing, and it kind of got the offense going. But I don't think the offense is as bad in the first half when I was watching it live than what it was when I watched the replay.
It's kind of interesting how it works that way, is being there in the stadium as opposed to watching it, after everything's said and done. James, how do you feel pulling out this win against Ohio? They were a legit team.
Yeah, man. No matter what happened in this game, however we were able to pull out the win, I was going to feel pretty good about it because this is a good team they beat. I think it's a team that's probably going to be in the MAC championship game again. So, I mean, it's always good to get a win under your belt. I know it doesn't bring a lot of cachet to beat Ohio, but if you follow college football, you realize that's a pretty good team they beat. And despite not playing the best of their abilities, everything wasn't clicking. And you don't expect that really in a first game. But I'm kind of with Dan. Watching it, especially the first half, I was like, man, this offense is awful. Like, this is rough. There would be like little glimpses of being able to run the ball and then little glimpses of being able to get the passing game going, but they would make some really bad throws, or guys would not see holes correctly, or guys blocking would get blown away, or they'd make a bad read on their blocking assignment. But as I watched the replay of it, I could see it gave me even more optimism and confidence going forward, that there's kind of like little things here and there they can clean up, and it'll really kind of make it more of an explosive offense and a fun offense to watch. On defense as well, there was a lot of things like early they were kind of gashing the defense up the middle, and that kind of went to that defensive line thing we were talking about in the pregame. So that was kind of scary, but it seemed like they kind of tightened it up a little bit, and they were able to get some pressure, not really doing all-out blitzes, just blitzing an extra guy here or there, which was good. So I think there's good things you can take, but there's a lot of good things that need to be cleaned up as well going forward. And this opponent coming up is probably the perfect storm of doing that before you go play on the road or at home against UCLA, excuse me.
And that was the big thing, winning this first game against Ohio. You wanted to start off 1-0, obviously to get the fan base on your side, get people's ears perking up and see what kind of performance the Aztecs could put forward. And, you definitely wanted to go into the next game 1-0, take out Idaho State, and go into UCLA 2-0. But before we look ahead of ourselves, just look at the stat sheet. Jalen Mayden, 17 for 27, 164 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. That was a big one. On the running game, Jalen Armstead, 8 carries for 78 yards. We'll get into that, his second half. Keenan Christensen, 11 for 45. And Mayden had 10 for 24. That first drive, just talking about that first drive, I was kind of encouraged after that first drive, because I agree with what you guys are saying. We kind of missed some opportunities, but we put up 3 points on the board right off the bat. I felt like that drive could have gone for 7 if they had, made some plays happen. But to walk away with 3 points, as compared to last year's season and the dysfunction of the offense, I mean, it was any points on the board to start the game, I was taking that as a big win. But, as the game progressed, like you guys said, their offense with Curtis Rourke looked like he was just being able to kind of carve us up and move the ball, made a great defensive stop in the end zone to hold them to a field goal, exchanged a couple possessions, both teams. But then early in the game, to me, it was the first turning point of the game. At the end of the first quarter, how can you not talk about it? The defense comes up big and knocks Curtis Rourke out of the game. We already knew he was coming in as a highly, sought about potential NFL prospect, and everybody was on guard for his abilities, but we knock him out. Obviously he had his ACL injury he was trying to get over. I mean, how big did that change the complexion of the game in your guys' opinion? Dan, how do you see that?
It's weird. When I watched the replay, I still don't even know that it was his ACL he hurt. I know the announcers kind of assumed that. Dude, I think like he might have taken a knee to the head. He might have had a concussion, something like that. I guess some people will say, "Oh yeah, you guys beat him, but he didn't play." But hey, we caused it. We got pressure back there, and Harris is a good quarterback himself. He made a couple mistakes, but they all do. So more than anything, I thought it might have just changed some momentum, like instantly. Like dang, we're hitting him now. Let's go play some football. I assumed he was going to come back, like at the game.
Yeah, me too. Now, James, that was Zyrus. How do you say his name? Zyrus who?
I don't care if it's wrong. I'm going to keep saying Fiaso. So whatever.
He came around the edge and just walloped Rourke. And I agree with Dan. I think he did get a knee to the helmet or something like that. It looked like he was like Rourke was dipping down to maybe protect his leg, or in the process he got hit, and it was just really awkward.
To be honest, I think the pressure was starting to get to him before that. I don't know if you recall, like the drive prior, they tried to run an option play when they were close to the goal line, and he got rocked on that play right before he pitched it. And I think he was already starting to bring his eyes down because the defense was starting to get a little pressure on him. And that sack was just like, because he went down right away, he didn't even try to make something happen. So whether the game would have, I'm sure obviously the game would have been different with him in there. But to necessarily say, oh, they would have won if he was still in there, I think that's BS, because the defense was starting to get in his head a little bit. And I agree with Dan. I think it was a concussion thing. That's just outside looking in, but it didn't appear like anything was going down with his knee. Say what you will about their backup quarterback, and like Dan said, he made a few bad throws. He made some mistakes here and there, but he made some great throws that his receivers just couldn't come down with. And he's the same guy that was the MVP of their bowl game last year that beat Wyoming. So it's not like he's never played before or doesn't have much experience. So he's like a starter type guy. So it's a good win no matter what. And like I said, it's starting off beating a team like that, no matter how it went down. You got to take that, stick it in your pocket, and use it as a booster to go to the next game.
So I didn't realize Rourke was 8 of 10 for 75 yards in that first quarter, which, okay, he's a very accurate passer. But bringing in C.J. Harris was their backup. And like you said, he won their bowl game last year. I mean, he's a capable guy. He's a capable quarterback. We've all seen what he could do if you watch that bowl game, the highlights. Let's talk about this defense, though. I know it was asked of the coaches this week, were they going to prepare for both quarterbacks? And it sure looked like they did. So that was pretty huge on the Aztecs' part. But this defense continues to make things happen with Kurt Maddox. Guys, you could change the faces, change all the different players in there. What impressed or what stood out to you guys on the defensive side? Because they held this Ohio team, without a touchdown for the majority of the game.
I think you're more impressed with the defense than the staff is, especially Brady Hoke. I mean, we talk about that play at the very end of the game. He literally said, I didn't, I was kind of worried if we don't get it, we might not win this game. So, I mean, they were gashed, and I think the run defense might be an issue throughout the year. They made some good play. I mean, the game's a blowout if Cody Moon doesn't have the personal or the late hit on the quarterback. But man, you still can't forget about them kind of going up and down the field a lot. Not getting points all the time, but the run defense, I think it's a concern with the staff. I think it's a concern with us, and something that they're going to have to improve on.
Yeah, definitely, dude. The thing that I took away for me was the depth on the defense. They must have played like 2 or 3 deep at almost every position in the game. So it was really cool to see so many guys get out there, and it seemed like just about everybody did something at some point, made a tackle or got a tackle for loss or made a key stop. So I was really pleased with that, seeing a lot of guys get playing time and contribute. So I think that bodes well going forward, because the run defense might be an issue, and the more they can run guys in and out of there to keep them fresh is hopefully that's going to be the way they're going to have to do it, and kind of combat not having like that dominant physical presence on the inside.
Okay, so going down the defensive stat line a little bit, got to give these guys some love. Cody Moon got the defensive player of the week, of course, 12 tackles total, I believe, and put a lot of pressure on the quarterback, causing that interception there in the second quarter, I believe. And just a lot of chirping I saw from our defense. Like the guys were out there playing with a lot of attitude. They're playing confident. They're playing free. And that's what I enjoyed seeing. Guys, Cooper McDonald was out there making, pressures happen. Seeing guys like Noah Tumlin got the defensive player for the team wise this past week. So I know he made some pass breakups, and there was just a lot of activity on the defensive side. So yeah, they may have gave up some yardage on the ground, but when it mattered, they got the turnovers, and they kept them out of the end zone for the most part of the game. I mean, you can't really that bend but don't break defense is kind of what they may have to be playing this year.
Usually, though, that bend and don't break defense is kind of like it's a farce. Like eventually you break. It's just the better team moves the ball. If you move the ball that much, you're putting your will onto the other team. You're breaking them down. Usually if you move the ball, you also score a lot of points. So some might say it's somewhat fluky, but the turnovers were forced though. That's what we didn't get the lucky turnover, we didn't get like on a kick return, dropping the ball or something like that. They were all forced, like a lot of pressure on the quarterback.
How dare you call it a farce? That's blasphemous, bro. Come on, man. If anybody was listening to my conversation with Coach C, you could plainly hear this defense was going to need to bend but not break. I mean, this is a high-powered offense with or without Rourke in there. So, I mean, you bring it in the backup, yes, you're going to give up those yardage. I mean, this is a veteran offensive line. These guys aren't dumb. They may be from the MAC, which we all look down on, right? But, I mean, this was a legitimate 10-win team last year. You wanted to make them make those mistakes eventually. You wanted to keep everything in front of you. And I mean, I didn't see any kind of deep passes thrown on our defense. They kept everything in front of them. So eventually, in a long drive,
I'll disagree with you on that. They missed two wide open guys down the line.
Right. Okay, but they missed them. With a more accurate quarterback, maybe we get burned on those. But then you're playing a more accurate quarterback in Rourke. With what actually happened in the game, that's all you could judge on is what happened in the game. And what I'm saying is, you extend those drives, they're going to make a mistake, and that's exactly what we talked about with Coach C. You make them extend those drives, keep everything in front of you, they're going to make a mistake, and that's what happened.
I mean, I think that's what every defense wants to do, though. I'm saying, like, I don't think the team went in there thinking. I don't think the team went in there thinking we're going to let them go up and down the field on us. And then hopefully we get dude. We were blitzing. We were trying to make some plays. We were trying to create some havoc. They weren't just in some soft zone. But a lot of it's the running the ball, dude. They were able to run the ball on us, and that's going to be a concern. Forgetting the pass defense, it's going to be the run defense. And I know they want to stop every run. They're not saying, "Hey, get 6 yards on us, get 5 yards on us, get 6 yards on us." And they didn't even get those big gains. They got those annoying ass gains, where it's like 5 yards here, 6 yards here. They didn't get some 50-yard run where it makes their rushing yards look way, way better than what it was. They were moving our defense front.
Well, you got anything on that, James, before we move on to the offense?
Yeah, just I mean, I agree. No big plays was good. I don't necessarily think the game plan was to let them go up and down the field and just get tight around the end zone. But on the other hand, I think that just kind of shows the coverage ability of the defensive backs. Once it got closer to the end zone, there was less space that the offense could work. It kind of played into our hands, so it made it a lot harder for them to try to score when they got closer to the end zone. It cut down all the space the offense had to operate in, and that made we've got pretty talented guys in the back seven there. So yeah, dude, I'm not happy with the way they ran the ball. That was the biggest thing. Is like Dan said, they were just kind of grinding it for the most part, especially in the first half. They kind of slowed down in the second half. We were able to make some stops. And I think we're going to need those guys on the defensive line, or the defensive line and the monster back, to kind of be more penetrators and be guessing right when they do their stunts and flexes. But that's something, it could be situational, excuse me. But I guess we'll kind of find out this week coming up a little bit, and the week after for sure.
One quick thing, Mateo. Also, to give credit to Ohio, they have some really good skill players. Like their running backs and wide receivers Dude, they're a nightmare matchup, you know. So like, that's also, you got to give some credit to the other team. Like, their skill players are really good. I know they have an experienced offensive line as well.
Hey Aztec Nation, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button to our channel. And then stop on over to sonsofmontezuma.com, where you can find more SDSU sports, news, articles, podcasts, and the most unique Aztecs-inspired merchandise in our original NIL shop. This year's Sons of Montezuma NIL team features quarterback Jalen Maiden, receiver Mekhi Shaw, running back Keenan Kristen, defensive lineman Garrett Fountain, and linebacker Cooper McDonald. With every purchase, you directly support our student athletes. So make sure to stop over at sonsofmontezuma.com today. Go Aztecs! Okay, moving on to the offense, guys. It's no mystery that they got off to a slow start. I know, Dan, we were riled up because it was like, you know, Ohio's defense isn't necessarily as potent as their offense. And to see our struggles early on in that first half was frustrating for everybody there who was there in attendance. But, you know, I kind of walked away feeling a little more encouraged. There were some noticeable times where Maiden was getting into a rhythm, and obviously with Mark Redmond, 2 touchdown catches, and he spread the ball around as he usually does. So it was good to see him get in the rhythm in that second half. What were we thinking? I know what I was thinking in that first half. What were you guys thinking overall as far as the offense goes?
The offense, like I said, they had a lot of things that were like, they polished it off, like a little bit better throw here, a little bit better block here. They were like this close to really, really getting the thing going. Keenan Kristen showed some real flashes early, broke off a couple big runs, and it was starting to look like, oh man, we might have our SDSU running game back for a little bit there in the beginning. But then they would just, you know, a bad assignment on the offensive line or a fullback or H-back or whatever, and they'd get tackled for a loss to kind of derail the momentum. But I kind of like that we talked about before the season, that kind of 2-back tandem of Kristen and Armstead. And I think that's going to be the way to go, man. I think they should get a majority of the load this season. You know, mix in some Cam Davis here and there. He's a nice little change of pace guy. So I think that was kind of giving me some hope. We might get back to being able to run the ball a little better. I think once this offensive line gels a little bit more. And it's mainly, it seems the biggest thing was there was a lot more cohesiveness. Like, there wasn't a lot of confusion out there. I don't think there was a single false start penalty. And there was like maybe one or two holding penalties, but it was, you know, guys trying to stop a sack. And it seemed like everybody knew for the most part what they were doing, and there wasn't confusion on like play calls. There were no formation penalties or anything like that. So that's like light years better than the start of last year. And I kind of liked a lot of the play calls too. He ran a lot of screen plays and not obvious screen situations, and it seemed like he called them just right. If it worked or not, you know, that was just great play by Ohio on defense. But it seemed like every time he called a screen, he was catching them in a blitz. So that, I think that's a good indicator that Ryan Lindley has like a pretty good feel for the flow of the game. So I'm excited about that kind of stuff.
I think scheme wise, you know, it was, I really liked it. We actually, that first half, man, they created some open opportunities to go down the field. And like, there's that one with, I think it was Balin Brooks early on, or if he throws it to the right side of the field, instead he kind of leads it back to his back shoulder into the defense when the whole other side of the field's wide open. That could be a touchdown, you know? So I think Ryan Lindley did his job as far as creating some opportunities for skill players. The throws have to be more competitive. I'm not saying they have to be perfect. In the first half, I think I counted like maybe 7 incompletions, and only 1 incompletion was based off like a defender making a play or a wide receiver drop. You know, the throws weren't competitive. They weren't in the ballpark to where we could leave it up to the wide receivers to make plays. And most of them happen to be downfield too. You know, I think that might be a struggle throughout the season. So I think offensive wise, and I actually really thought the offensive line played well, even with our running game. And then we did catch a couple bad breaks too, right? The Armstead fumble was a killer. That was a great run, and to lose it right there, man. The only reason I brought it up is because I've heard nothing but Armstead from a vocal minority, like on Twitter before, even complaining even about the depth chart. So I just kind of brought it up. But he looked really good, and so to lose the ball there, we missed a field goal. It was just I think we played better on offense than what the score said.
Definitely about Armstead. I mean, it's great to see him come back and be determined, right? I mean, he ran hard in that second half. He was looking determined to make up for that fumble, and he was trying to make a play. Like you said, it was a great run, great effort to kind of make something out of nothing.
Dude, okay. Well, regarding that run, it was just a kick in the nuts, just for like the momentum.
Yeah.
Nothing about him in particular, but we needed that first down, dude. He made such a great play. We need, and everything was so choppy there.
No, and then to complement all that, the receivers, Mekhi Shaw had an incredible grab there at the sideline, got that toe in there. It was so close, and that really kept the momentum going on that touchdown drive in the first half to end the first half. And then Balin Brooks, I mean, you said his name, he could have had a long touchdown grab there. As a freshman, guys, he does not look like a freshman.
I thought the wide receivers, I thought there was some separation there. I thought there were some spots where, if you get it in the ballpark, they could make a play. So I didn't really think like, oh my God, our wide receivers are so young or they're so inexperienced. They didn't look like that. And like James said before, like the team just in general looked a lot more disciplined. We might not be the best team. We may not have the best offense, but we weren't really killing ourselves. And we even had a couple terrible penalties where even the announcer, when I was watching the replay, was like, you know what? There was no hold. That was on a screenplay. There was no hold, Like we had some bad breaks. So I'm a lot more positive after I watched the replay than what I was from the stands.
How about you, James? Any thoughts on those receivers or just the offense as we kind of move forward?
No, man, Dan pretty much hit it on the head. I was very impressed with the play of the receivers. Pretty much every single one of them. Penny, Brooks, Shaw, obviously. So, and then also kind of piggybacking on that, the emphasis on getting the ball to the tight end. It was like noticeable, and we haven't had that in a while. We've had some really talented tight ends come through here and haven't really like forced the ball to them. And it kind of seems like they want to do that. And I guess that all that talk about him replicating Andy Ludwig's offense that he runs at Utah, it wasn't just talk. It seems like they're going to try to do that.
Hey, and just to point out another bad break, when Rudolph trips on the grass, right? Like so I'm saying there were some things like that. That's a wide open receiver, great design play. And I thought there was some bad luck. Just like I thought we could have been fortunate on defense. I think we weren't as fortunate on offense.
I think more than anything, a lot of the questions we had coming in about the offense, I don't think they're completely answered, of course, but I think we're getting to see the beginnings of indications like what you're saying, James, as far as with Lindley's style of offense, what he's going to call. He seemed ahead of the defense many times. And, Dan, what you're saying, a couple of those little errors, those little things that didn't go our ways, we see the potential. And they're disciplined for sure. But I want to hit on something, though, because, okay, if you guys have ever watched or seen us watch the game live at the stadium, I raise my hand. I'm obnoxious. I'm a passionate fan. I get way too into it, like some of you who listen to this podcast. And during the game, there was a moment where me and Dan, and we love to do this every once in a while, we were in spirited, heated debate. And I only bring it up because to me, that was the second turning point of the game. It's the second turning point of the game in my mind. But I think it also kind of shows a bigger picture onto what you were talking about, James, like the philosophy of this offense and this team. As much as everybody wants, Ryan Lindley to come in and have us sling the ball around like as if we're Eric Coryell, 2.0. You do have to keep in mind his influences with, whether it's Andy Ludwig, they brought up a lot on the telecast. And of course, this is still Brady Hoke's team. So when it comes to the bigger picture, those bigger decisions, in that second quarter, we're losing 6-3. We have the ball with, I believe it was like under 2 minutes or so, or under 3 minutes or so. And we're backed up at our own 20-yard line. It's like 2nd and 20, 3rd and 20, something like that. And we opt to just run the ball without really 2nd and 19. I think it went to like 3rd and 19 as well, or something like that. And we opted to just run the ball, keep it very safe. And, me and Dan, we were kind of getting into it because it's like, okay, well, why don't you throw the ball there? Why don't you go for it? And at that point, the offense was looking very anemic. So I get, like, we were all very frustrated. But I bring it up because, I think fans need to kind of temper their expectations a little bit. That situational football, this is still Brady Hoke's team. They're still going to play somewhat conservative, maybe in your eyes. I mean, it was 6-3, right? So you don't want to put yourself in a bad situation. You're throwing the ball, seeing how the offense wasn't in any kind of a rhythm at that point. I mean, Dan, do you look back on that? Do you see it any differently, or am I still kind of speaking against the grain?
I mean, I think like when I watched the replay, I don't think it was such. The 2nd and 19, when you watch it from the stands, looked like a really ultra conservative play. And when I kind of watched the second, I didn't care about the 3rd down play, whatever. It was 3rd and 19. But 2nd and 19, I don't want the team to have this mentality that, oh, no way we can't get a first down. I think it's a terrible mentality to have. Now, having said that, the play wasn't as boring or conservative as I thought. They went with an option run. They tried to get the ball into Kristen's hands. Man, if they get 10 yards there, I mean, it wasn't just a run up the middle. They tried to, it was actually a trickier type of play. So in that regards, I give them more credit. They weren't necessarily rolling over like I kind of thought from watching the game. That being said, though, I mean, I don't think we're as conservative as you think. If you look at like the 4th down play calls, and if you think like Brady Hoke seems like a different mentality this year. So I'm not sure how conservative we are. And I just don't want to get into that, let's just, play the field position because, you could point to where, oh, yeah, we got an interception after that. But, yeah, they do. They drove the ball all the way down the field. It almost killed us. And you never know what's going to happen. So we can't really argue about the play so much anyways, because I could say, oh, they would have threw a touchdown pass right then, or vice versa. But I just don't want the team to have this mentality that, that we don't have the skill players, we don't have the ability to make some plays happen, to get 7 yards, to make a 3rd down play more manageable.
I get what you're saying, because we saw a lot of that last year, that mentality last year, where it's like you already knew you weren't getting the offensive production at the quarterback spot or just in general from offense. So it was like, I remember being in Utah and it was just like, yeah, this is not competitive. They're not even trying. Like, and you hate to say that about, because it's not about the players, but it's just, it's the mentality. It's the overall, decision making. And I don't think we saw that. I don't think those plays were indicative of last year, right? And I think we're all kind of seeing that in hindsight a little bit. I will say, yes, the fact that we turned them over, I'll stick to my guns on that, because that was the whole point. Is like you trust your defense to get the ball back, and it's a totally different situation. You're not backed up in your own 20. Of course, whatever could have happened could have happened. What was that?
They literally went right down the field. Like if they would have stopped and kicked the field goal earlier, they would have got points. I was watching that replay and they actually went down the field really easy after that. Which maybe it leads more credence to where, yeah, we got to kick it down the field. But I don't know. I mean, at this point, I think we have a 5th-year senior. I think he plays pretty conservative in general. He doesn't really force a lot of stuff in there.
What's funny is I was in between you guys, so I had to hear it from both sides. And you both kept trying to get me to take your side. And I was kind of in the middle because I didn't like the play call at all. Because I don't like running a speed option when they have their nickel defense in there, because there's more speed on the field. So it's kind of hard to get away with a speed option when you're going against a bunch of defensive backs. And they had smaller linebackers to begin with. So I would have I was okay with the run call. I would have preferred more of like an inside zone play. But that's just me personally. I didn't have any problem with the decision to go conservative on 2nd and 19, because the way the offense was playing to that point, it's better to kind of just flush that drive and play the field position game for that drive. I'm not saying you do that the whole game, but that particular circumstance, definitely I was okay with going conservative there and hoping your defense can slow them down or turn them over. And, so I was kind of in the middle. I don't like that speed option call on that play, but that was just a taste thing more than anything.
I think that speed option is almost something that they've probably worked on a bunch. Like they had it for a certain situation where it looks like we're going to be conservative, and they ran that off of a lot of design quarterback runs too. Like I was shocked how much design quarterback runs that Maiden was a part of. So I think they are trying to maybe play off of that little, get him thinking that he was going to run the ball, but who knows?
And Maiden's good back there for it. He's got that big body. He's more slippery than anything at escaping the pocket. So, okay, so let's move on, guys, to Idaho State. I'll admit it, I don't have much on Idaho State, guys. We're going to be talking with Coach C this week again, and I really don't think we're going to get that deep into the Bengals of Pocatello. But they got a new coach, right? Dan Hawkins' son, I believe. He's the new head coach out there. So they're a very different looking team. I think they have like something crazy, like 40 new players or on the roster. And they need it, right? Of course, they're turning that roster upside down, bringing in his new system, and he's probably going to be a good head coach there in the long term. But for right now, there's not a lot of film to look at. Obviously, listening to Brady Hoke, I don't think they really had a firm grasp. Of course, they're checking out all the different other films that a lot of these coaches have came from, but it's tough to get a firm grasp on what they're going to bring. But this should be a game, guys, that we just should be able to handle at the end of the day. Last year we handled them very, very soundly in the second half. It wasn't a pretty game until that second half. We ran all over them. I kind of expect a much better performance from this offense, especially. I think this week is a good opportunity for them to sharpen those things up of what you guys were talking about. Any opinions you guys have on the Bengals of Idaho State?
It is what it is. They're a bad FCS team. They're not even a good FCS team. So this should be a pretty dominating victory as long as our guys show up to play and do their thing. And I think this could be the game where we finally get a little bit of an offensive explosion finally to kind of show what the offense is capable of. So I'm excited to see that. I'm excited going. I'm kind of treating this like a glorified red and black game, where we can kind of watch the offensive defense and see what guys get in there. Hopefully we take a solid lead and they can get a lot of guys a lot of playing time. So I'm looking forward to it in that respect. You never disrespect anybody you play, but there's levels to this, and this shouldn't be a game we're concerned about analytically.
These are the games that I hate. I hate for like a fan. I hate spending time. Like I hate these games. I know they have to schedule them. They need it. They need to play some pretty crappy teams sometimes. But like even if the team plays well, what are we going to say? It was against Idaho State. So it's like you can't take anything positive out of it. So the only thing that you could bring from these games is really negative, unless you just manhandle them. And which I don't even know if we're capable of, a 70-7 game or something like that. So I'm just hoping that, we go in there, we play solid, still show some discipline. Everybody gets out healthy and safe, and then we just move on to a real week of football.
Practice what they got to practice, sharpen it up, and get out safe. I agree with that, man. No injuries. Got to escape the injury bug.
Hey, Matt, I don't know what else. I think we got to talk about Snapdragon, dude.
Go ahead, bring it up, man. Let's talk about it. Because this stadium, it's the second year, Snapdragon Stadium, and we're all there. I know, Idaho State is not going to be the biggest draw. Ohio should have been a bigger draw. It's the opening game. It was a beautiful, beautiful day down there in Mission Valley at the River Park. We had a blast, but you look around and, there's a lot of season ticket holders that did not renew this year. Do we want to talk a little bit about Snapdragon Stadium, Ben? I know you got some thoughts.
Yeah, I do. So do you think anything that you voiced in the survey in the offseason, did it feel like they listened? Did you notice any changes from on-field presentation, from production value, from ticket prices? Did you notice anything different?
Personally, I didn't notice too much of a difference in the production, in like the pageantry, in the whole college football feel. an atmosphere. I didn't notice that. I know that they've been making attempts to sweeten the pot for season ticket holders, right? Like bringing some percentages down on, whether it's drinks and food and merchandise and all those different things, trying to alleviate some of that.
I remember them talking about, season ticket discount. Of course, I order my drinks. I totally forget. Like, they don't mention anything. They don't ask if you're a season ticket holder. We got to do something.
Let me cut you in on that. Let me cut you in on that, because we can't just complain about it and not actually say what the answer is. So basically, on the app, the Go Aztecs app, in your ticket account manager all the way, I think it's like all the way down at the bottom or whatever. It looks like your ticket, and it basically shows another QR code with your, I believe it's like 10% off of concessions. And basically when you go buy your drinks or your food, you show them that after you pay or before you pay, right? You show it to them, they'll scan it and it reduces the price down. But I completely forgot myself too. When I went and bought a couple drinks there, I completely forgot to use it. So it's not something that was like really promoted. Like, I'm just sharing with the listeners right now, because even I kind of vaguely knew about it and I didn't even take advantage of it.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about it until the day before. I went to download my tickets onto my phone, and I saw that at the bottom because I was looking for our parking passes, which I thought were going to be on there.
Which is another thing.
And they weren't on there, and I was like, "Whoa, what the heck is this?" And I saw that season ticket holders discount, and I didn't even download it because I was like, "I don't even know what this is. I'll look at this later." So I didn't know what it was for, and so I'm surprised that you guys had actually heard about it, because I hadn't even heard about it.
So Dan, what from that survey do you feel should have been like first priority as far as, making the experience for the butts in the seats to get there, or the people who actually are there to enjoy it more?
The people that are there to actually enjoy it. I mean, just because, and the reason that's the most important thing is look what the retention was last year. What, 35% less season ticket holders, or whatever the hell it is. They don't make it an event. It feels like you're at a high school football game that's in a cool stadium and it has cool concessions. I mean, it's a really still environment, and it is what it is. We're diehard, so we're gonna go. But to the public person, are they gonna like shell out the money that the school is expecting on a hot day, and with no entertainment value outside of the actual game, And I think they didn't listen to my complaint. Maybe I was the only one that complained about it, but it's a really still environment there. That's why I kind of want them to give tickets away. I want people there so it isn't so still. It isn't so awkward watching the game there.
James, you got anything? Nah.
The only thing I will say that I kind of noticed, it did seem like they amped back up the DJ Roberts music, so you could actually hear it now, and that may just because there weren't hardly any people there, but it seemed to me like you could hear the defense, and they played the Dark Side theme every time the defense came out to the field. So that was like a little thing that they did, and I'll take little increases when I can. But I agree with Dan. A lot of the stuff we agreed on that when we did that survey. Matt, Dan, did you guys notice like a huge difference between going to the red and black scrimmage versus going to this game outside of the field?
Yeah, that's the perfect example. It's like
was there really any difference? I didn't see any really, just more people. But there was no production difference between the scrimmage game and the actual game, the season opener. And I think that's a problem. I think that's an issue, and that's not going to correct the problems that are going on with attendance. But little stuff like that makes it easier to sell higher price tickets to games that maybe aren't as attractive. If there's something going on at the stadium that makes it fun without the game, that can only help.
I think you're right. I think it just plays into the bigger picture of the brand, right? San Diego State Aztecs. That's what we are. That's what we represent. San Diego on a local level, San Diego State on a national level. And then when you add in San Diego State Aztecs, I mean, that takes you to an international level, guys. I don't think necessarily people are drawing those connections. When we first got news that the school was getting rid of the Aztec Warrior, and we've had these debates before, we've had those conversations before. That's one thing. But there's got to be some type of a brand cohesion. There's got to be some type of entertainment, synergy with San Diego State Aztecs there at the stadium, and it just feels very dry. It feels very how do you say identityless.
Yeah.
I don't really feel any kind of, whether it's any of my senses, visual, audio, whatever, of an Aztec, of a warrior, of a of that type of culture and civilization and fun things, and maybe not even talking about that type of thing. Let's just talk about college football, San Diego State history and tradition. I understand, yes, the Coryell family came out and were the honorary warriors. That was amazing. That's great, as they should have been. But when we talk about an entertainment value, whether it's music, like I said, audibly, visually, I mean, there just really isn't a lot of play on that entertainment value. When we go to Utah, you see, hey, they got the Ute dancers. Maybe it's a little different because they're there and represent their area there. But it all ties together, and it creates this identity. It creates the brand. It creates the feel. And, we're really devoid of that. We're really devoid of that right now.
I mean, something as simple as like pre-game, on the big screens, like go through the history, show all the highlights of the history, get the team pumped. Let's show Marshall Falk. Let's show all the stuff that you show in your video, on your lead-in. Like they don't do anything like that. It's crazy. Like it seems like they just wanted to build a nice stadium and have like a San Diego feel to it, and then throw the players out there and say, "Hey, play." It's just not how it works. Like you got to convince people to go to games these days. Their TV looks great. I can't even see the damn player numbers from where I'm at, or I'm literally asking Mateo every play, who's that? That's another thing, dude. Pass out a roster sheet, for crying out loud, a program, something so we can see. We know who all these players are. That there's so much turnover every single year, especially with the transfer portal. There's gonna be all these players that we've never even heard of. And we're the ones that actually follow it really close,
Well, that's what you got your app for. Remember the days of magazine programs they used to give out? Oh, man, I used to cherish those things as a kid. I always wanted the program of that game, just take it home and add to my collection. Those were tangible things that you walk away. Hey, if the game wasn't good, if we lost, well, at least I got this cool magazine, the program I could look back and, here, kids, take it out, check it out. And they'd love it.
Like, even if they just left a paper in the cup holder of just the roster, dude. Honestly, because how many times were we asking you, wait, who's that? Who's that? Who's that? Like these are the days of NIL. We got to start promoting the players a little bit. Give them some more name. Get their name out there.
And build around their persona, build around their character. Yeah. You know what I mean? If they've got a favorite song, you got to play that song out there, get them hyped up. If they got, a certain nickname, you got to play off of that. And, you're only going to build those emotional connections with San Diego fans if you take those extra steps to create that environment there. It's not like you just said, James, it's not going to like bring in droves of fans and solve everything overnight, but it is going to make that product you put out there at the stadium higher quality.
And kind of speaking to that, getting their names out there, how about like starting lineup introductions for the game? Something simple as that. I remember they did it at Utah. They announced the starting lineups. Something like that doesn't really cost any money, and you can do that before the game starts. I know not most of the stadium is in there yet, but still, if you start doing that, maybe that'll get people in the gate earlier so they can see that stuff. So yeah, there's little stuff like that doesn't really cost a lot that they can do, and it just I don't know, there's no will to do it, or maybe it could be the staff that doesn't want them doing that. I don't know. But yeah, just things like that. We're not asking them to bring back the Sky Show every game, anything like that. That's going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to do. But little stuff like that, like pipe up the music louder, have the DJ's voice be louder so he can talk to the crowd before the game and in between plays. I know they have their announcer and he tries to do that, but like a DJ is better at that kind of stuff than an announcer who's just used to announcing games. So like just little things like that don't really cost money, and they just got to do them.
Hey, Matt, I'm just concerned that a culture isn't being developed. Like we're not developing anything. And there's 7 games a year, so you got to start it on game 1. Like, we got to develop culture. We lack it. Do something about it. Try things. See what people like. See what people are into. But man, I was disappointed.
If there's no human representation with a mascot, because it does go a long ways in my eyes, but if there's no human representation, there's other ways to represent the Aztec warrior through visual and audio ways, through the video board, through sounds. There's different things that could be done to kind of create that culture of what you're saying, Dan, a fan culture. And that's essentially what we're talking about. I mean, anything on the field, that's in the coaches, their power and their decision making. But as far as for us fans, there's got to be something more than what is being presented. And I'll tell you what, guys, I don't know if you guys noticed, this year these games are getting shorter. So that opportunity for that entertainment with the fans, that connection with the fans, is getting tighter. That window is getting tighter. The rule change this year, the clock does not stop after first downs until the ends of the half. I don't know if you guys noticed that. It was something I didn't really exactly notice, but then you do notice, okay, well, the game, apparently the game was quicker, it was faster. So that's something that they're doing to speed up the game for television wise, I'm sure, and different things. But that opportunity to build those connections with the fans is getting smaller and smaller. Everything's becoming more cost effective and what's going to be best for the dollar, the bottom line. But I don't think we're talking about anything that's going to be too expensive. I think we're just talking about having that vision, having that oversight, and the will to do it, like you said.
Is there really any point to do player of the game for this week, honestly?
Our Warriors of the week coming up against Idaho State. I mean, hey, we put him out last week, and I know James hit it right on the head with Mark Redmond. I mean, he was a beast out there, just a mismatch nightmare for pretty much anybody we're going to play, I would think. But, man, what do you say about Idaho State? I mean, it's kind of a free-for-all, guys.
We should just do it for posterity, bro. But
posterity. Okay, on the offense, James, you go first because last week I let Dan go first for the Warriors of the week against Idaho State, the Bengals from Pocatello. Who do you got, James, on offense?
I'm going to go with our guy, Keenan Kristen.
You listen to everybody complain about it. You listen and listen.
No, because I feel he almost broke a few runs. He did break one good one, but he almost took it to the house. And I think he's going to take a couple to the house this weekend.
Hey, that's a good one. I feel bad that I didn't choose him because it seemed like that would have been a no-brainer.
Sometimes I think like maybe the listeners or the Twitter followers don't understand. We don't want to just take the obvious choice. Like you could take the first team running back every single time for stat player of the game. So you can try to come up with some like good ones where maybe a little bit unexpected. But I'm gonna go Baylon Brooks.
Ooh, he impressed you that much, huh?
I saw a lot of separation out there. So
yeah, I love that move toward the sidelines. Everybody kept playing. Yeah. You did that twist, a little stop and start. I couldn't remember who that was on the sideline. All the guys were completely balling out after seeing that and just so into it for their teammate. It was great to see. Okay, well, since you guys are picking running back and receiver, I'm not going to pick Mark Redmond. I think he would tear this game up again, but I want to pick, like what you're saying, somebody a little different off the cuff. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say Jalen Armstead. I think that the rushing attack is going to be very heavy in this game because we've got to get that dialed down. But as much as I want to pick Jalen Maiden, I think Armstead's going to be able to just run over these guys and have himself a night because it is a 7:30 kickoff. It is going to be a night game. So, okay, on the defense, Dan, who do you got? Warrior of the week, Aztec Warrior of the week on the defense.
I'm just going to say Cyrus. I'm not even going to attempt the last name. And I think he's someone that even playing against a lot better competition, he has the ability to make game-changing plays, as seen on this last game. So I think against a team the level of Idaho State, I think his speed and quickness would be even harder to stop.
He packs a punch, man. He looks when he hits, it looks like it hurts. It really does. Maybe not as much as that that hit that Keenan Christian put on that
God, what a blitz pickup, huh? What a blitz pickup.
Ooh, that was just perfect timing. He just timed it up perfect. Perfect. All right, James, who you got for the defense?
Man, I'm gonna go. Man, this is a tough one. I'm gonna go with Barfield. I'm gonna go with Sid Barfield, man. I think he's gonna have another great game. He's all over the field last week. I think he's gonna do some things this game. Get a turnover, maybe get a pick again.
This defense, I mean, everybody played well this past week in my mind. I mean, they were all attacking, flying to the ball, but Sedarius for sure, he had himself a game. He looked very, very good. Okay, I'm gonna keep it within the front six. So I am gonna go ahead and pick. Oh, I'm gonna say Cooper McDonald. I liked your pick last week. He showed me a lot of things last week. His energy, he was getting in the backfield, put some pressure on the quarterback. So I'm gonna go with Cooper Loop.
He's one of the players that I didn't realize played as well as he did until I watched the replay. You know,
flying.
Yeah, I mean, some of that stuff's on the other side of the field, right? And some of it's just can't really tell. But when you watch the replay, you could see it, and he was pretty impactful.
And he looks strong out there too. I seen him push some of the linemen out of the way, just like getting really good leverage and just taking them out of the way. Okay, guys, I think that's gonna do it for this episode. It's always great to win. So, man, I was hyped up after that game. I don't care if it was 20-17, 20-13, if it was 21-20. Like, I just needed that win for my own sanity after this off season. Like, I'm glad we got to spend the day out there at the River Park. And really want to thank everybody for stopping by. I don't think we get a chance to give out any shout outs. You know, definitely the Swoop and D tailgate guys. They were great down there. The Hijos de Montezuma were down there partying up. And of course, Sons of Montezuma crew was out there. Everybody stopped by. You know, want to thank Mars Energy, our sponsor with their energy cream. We've been using that this week, and we definitely got hyped up before that game. Maybe that's why I was so argumentative with Dan, because I had all the cream on my neck. And it got me hyped up. I loved it. So definitely go check that out, marsenergycream.com. Guys, 7:30 kickoff to the grass.
It's night and day. The tailgate experience is night and day different being in that grass versus being on the asphalt. It's so much.
The one thing that's different is like we had people on both sides of the aisle before.
Yeah.
You know, so it creates more of a like a circle or like a club, whereas this one, everybody's just stretched out, you know, and so the music, right? The music, you hear one side this music, one side this music. So we got to figure out something with that. But for the most part, it's a money place to spend your day.
Absolutely.
It's just kids were running around. Everybody's just having a great time, feeling cooler over there. So hopefully we see you guys down there at the Sons of Montezuma gate. And we'll even have a big surprise for everybody who shows up and feasts their eyes on our latest creation. Can't wait to pull that puppy up there at the Snapdragon Stadium. Yes. Looking forward to this. So that's going to do it for this episode. Hopefully you guys had a good time, and hopefully we'll recap the Idaho State game, and it's another victory. We need this one. We got to be 2-0 before we get into UCLA. Players can't look ahead, but we sure can, because I want to come into that UCLA game undefeated and looking to knock out some Bruins. All right, guys. On behalf of K5 James and Dirtball Dan, this is Mateo San Diego signing off. Make sure you go get that Mars Energy Cream and check out our NIL shop. Support our student athletes. We got some more NIL members to the team coming up. sonsofmontezuma.com, everybody. Go Aztecs.
Go Aztecs.
I'm an Aztec warrior.
Yo.